Attention sports enthusiasts, keep the adrenaline pumping and elevate your game day with Chumba Casino. It's completely free to play. No purchase necessary. Whether you're cheering from the stands, on the move, or relaxing at home, Chumba Casino brings the thrill of social casino directly to your fingertips. Experience the ultimate social casino adventure with reels of casino-style games, offering hundreds of exciting options to choose from and fresh new releases every week. There's always something new and thrilling to explore. From action-packed social slots and classic blackjack to engaging bingo and solitaire, the fun never stops. Plus, enjoy generous daily login bonuses and a fantastic free welcome bonus to kickstart your social gaming journey. Dive into the excitement, discover a world where you can play for your chance to redeem some serious prizes, and have a blast along the way. Don't miss out. What are you waiting for? Join now and immerse yourself in nonstop fun and adventure with Chumba Casino. Get in on the action today at ChumbaCasino.com and make every day a Chumba day. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ TNC supply.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW. Because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you, from daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. Because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or DSW.com.
It's time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers web zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
What's up, faithful? I'm Al. He's Brian. This is another episode of the 49ers web zone No Huddle Podcast. Brian, I don't know if you knew this about me. I'm a big Notre Dame fan.
I did know that about you. I did know that about you. You were an Audric Estime guy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's this run by Notre Dame, which I did not see coming, especially after the Northern Illinois loss. I was like, get Marcus Freeman off of my team. Get him off. I don't want to look at him. I don't want him coaching the team. And what they've done in this run they've been on, Ohio State's probably going to kill him. I don't care. It's been an awesome run. He has turned it around. They're a well-coached team. I'm looking forward to the future with Marcus Freeman right now. As a college football fan, I thought the games were awesome. Not just the Notre Dame game, but even the slow start to Texas and Ohio State, but still a good game right until the end. Mm-hmm. You know what wasn't awesome? Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, Wild Card Weekend was. You know what's crazy though? Wild Card Weekend last year was even worse. It was an average of 17 points in victory. This weekend was only 15. But
I guess I put that on.
It was bad.
I guess I put that out of my head. The Sunday night game was good. The Bucks and the
yes
Commanders, really
the
fun.
Only good game.
Yeah, but everything else was just brutal. And I kind of was thinking maybe I put last year out of my head. I'm like, it's been so bad, but this season was not a good NFL season. A lot of bad teams, and I think the cream is kind of rise to the top. I mean, the teams that should be there. If you want to argue the Vikings was a big upset, but the Eagles should be there. The Lions should be there. Mm-hmm. The Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills. I feel like the Super Bowl winners coming out of those 5 teams.
Well,
so
also the thing that I thought was interesting is this is the same exact divisional. I don't think it's the same matchups, but the same 4 teams made the divisional round this year in the AFC that did last year. Last year, the last 4 were Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo, just like this year. So interesting dynamic there.
I just really want the Chiefs to lose, and I was thinking the Chargers, just because you're in the division, they maybe had a chance to win. I think they're just going to wipe the floor with the Texans, so that sucks. And then the Bills and the Ravens.
So I don't think they're going to wipe the floor with the Texans. Now really? I don't think they're going to lose to the Texans, but I don't think they're going to wipe the floor, because I'll tell you what, that defensive performance that the Texans put on against the Chargers. Now, granted, the Chargers offense really, like, their offseason plan should be find guys who can catch the football. Like, that's the only thing that they need to do this offseason. But let's also be fair in saying that this Chargers team had a top 10 passing offense in the NFL this past season. So it's not like they were scrubs. And regardless of what you feel like about their pass catchers, Justin Herbert had a hell of a season throwing the football. And this team, like I said, had a top 10 passing offense. And this Texans defense made him look like, I mean, Justin Herbert looked lost, just absolutely lost. And it had a lot to do with just how well that Texans secondary played. And then obviously how well their front four got home against Justin Herbert. This Chiefs offense isn't what we're used to when it comes to Chiefs offenses. Like I said, I still think the Chiefs win because I think ultimately the Chiefs defense is obviously better than the Chargers. And for a large part of the first half of that game, that Texans offense just looked just as bad as the Chargers offense. But if there is an upset, because I don't think you can claim an upset in the Ravens Bills. Both of them are evenly matched. No. Whoever wins that game, they,
right.
Kudos, right? But I think if there is an upset, I think the Texans, and it would just be that the Texans defense put on another otherworldly performance. And you're talking about maybe a game that ends like 17-13 or something like that. But I am excited to see D'Amico against this Chiefs offense. I would love to see just another defensive masterclass from him.
Oh, I'll be rooting for them like crazy, but their offense just looks lost. I thought Stroud made some big plays towards the end of the first half, but he looked lost for part of that game. And I thought a lot about the 49ers this weekend. Yeah. Felt like it made me realize some things, or just to have some things go through my head. And I'll start with the quarterback play, I guess. I'll start with Herbert. Like you said, he needs some pass catchers, and he did not get helped out by his receivers in that game. However, he also, as you also said, looked lost and played like shit.
Yeah.
So now Herbert, who is still a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
But he's played 3 big games. The game where a few years ago where I forgot who they lost to, but where Staley was messing around at the end of the game and they could have tied and made the playoffs. And it was the Raiders.
The Raiders. Yeah, it was the Raiders.
The Raiders. Okay. And they end up kicking a field goal and winning, and the Chargers miss the playoffs. So he loses that game. Not saying that was Herbert's fault, but he lost the game. His only other playoff game, they got off to a 27-0 lead. They lose the game. Again, I'm not throwing it all on him, but quarterbacks are judged by these type of things. And this is his third kind of big game, and he loses again. Jordan Love has a lot of receivers hurt. He's banged up, but he played like garbage in that game. He did not play well. Stroud was kind of all over the place. And it just got me thinking about some things about Purdy.
Darnold looked awful.
Darnold, oh my God, how can I forget about that? Yeah, he was atrocious. And people just a few weeks ago are thinking like, oh, should the Niners sign Sam Darnold? Yeah. Like he was hit 2 big games in a row and he was bad.
Shit the bed.
The offensive line was not good, but Darnold was bad too. I'm just thinking with Purdy, and again, this isn't about hypotheticals. If the Niners traded places with this person or whatever, it's not about that. It's not about what you think, who you think's better, who's more physically talented. It's not about anything like that. It's about when Brock Purdy goes to the negotiating table, or his team does. This is what he can say. I have 4 playoff wins. I've been in 2, or my client has 4 playoff wins. My client's been in 2 NFC championship games. My client has a Super Bowl appearance that they lost in overtime. My client has a top 4 MVP finish. My client is one of 4 QBs with 4+ playoff wins and at least a top 4 MVP performance. And those other guys, besides my client, are Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Aaron Rodgers. My client has had a QBR of 72.8 and 68 in the 2 years he's been a full-time starter. QBs with the QBR 68 or higher in their first full years of starting. These are current QBs. Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes. That's it. Russell Wilson, 72.7 and 67.2. Lamar Jackson, 83 and 67.3. And Kirk Cousins, 67.8 and 66.5. We're all close. What does he have in common with all those guys? Well, all those guys got paid.
Yeah.
All those things, when I'm talking about my client, I'm going to say Justin Herbert has a 5-year, $262 million contract. You know what Justin Herbert has never done? He's never won a playoff game, let alone make a championship game or a Super Bowl. He's never had a top 4 MVP finish. He's never led the league in 8 passing categories. Trevor Lawrence has never done those things. Jordan Love has never done those things. Tua has never done those things. Dak Prescott has a high MVP finish.
Yeah.
He's had some good statistical years, but he hasn't had the playoff success my client has. So regardless of what you think of Purdy, his arm strength, his physical ability, whatever, his accomplishments are more than all those guys I just mentioned who are making $55, even up to $60 million a year. Why would he take a penny less? Why would he take a penny less? And you just saw, and I'll say this again, I know I'm kind of ranting, but Purdy played like shit in his first playoff game last year, but you know what he did? in the last drive when he had to. He
Won.
drove him down and won the game.
Yeah.
And for now you're thinking, well, Al, this year they lost a lot of games at the end of the season because of him. Well, in the playoffs, they won that Packers game at the end because he brought him back, and they were down 24-7 against Detroit, and they came back in the NFC Championship game. So yes, there were some things this year that might worry you, but that when you're talking about a resume and a negotiation, why would Brock's team take less?
Yeah, and I've seen the common argument against that position, which I think is the right position, and I've said it before. I said there's no way that the 49ers can come to the negotiating table in good faith, offering less than any of those guys because Brock Purdy's already more accomplished. And it's the camp that says QB wins aren't a stat, right? And I understand where they're coming from. I'm not here to debate, whether or not I think that QB wins are a stat, right? Like you brought up Justin Herbert, right? Well, Justin Herbert got his team up 27-0 against the Jaguars, and then their defense collapsed to the point where they lost that game, right? Now, obviously, as a quarterback, you have to wear that because that is the position. There were certainly plays in that game, drives in that game where if they would have scored, right, like we probably wouldn't have been talking about this. But outside of all of that, the common pushback against that idea of he comes to the negotiating table saying this is all that I've accomplished is you don't pay for what you've done, you pay for what you think you're going to get from the player. And ultimately, like I agree that in a vacuum, that's how contract negotiations work. But I'm sorry, that's not in the real world how contract negotiations work. Like there isn't a single athlete that has been paid handsomely without first having proven that they can produce and produce wins, right? Juan Soto didn't get what he got from the Mets because the Mets think that he's going to be even better than he has been. He is getting that because he's been really good up till now, and you think we're getting at least that, right? You're getting at least that. And so really what you're saying is you don't pay for past performance, you pay for, future performance. Well, when I come to the negotiating table, I say, look, here's the floor I've set for you. This is the floor. I've shown you what the floor is. There can be more, but at the very least, here's the floor. And for Brock Purdy, the floor is a Super Bowl appearance, right? Did he win the Super Bowl? No. One team wins. One team wins every year, right? And the other team had Patrick Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes a better quarterback than Brock Purdy? 100%. Would I take Patrick Mahomes over Brock Purdy? 107 times out of 10, right? Like, obviously. But here's the reality of the situation. Brock Purdy is going to get paid. The 49ers have already told you that they are going to pay him. They want him here a long time. And if that's the case, they cannot, in good faith, enter these negotiations offering any less than what Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Herbert have received. Those four quarterbacks, right? You cannot offer him any less because he has accomplished more than all of those quarterbacks. The only quarterback you mentioned that has produced more is Joe Burrow. That's the only one, right? Every other quarterback that has a contract, including Jalen Hurts, right? They haven't won a Super Bowl,
right?
And Joe Burrow also hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's at least gotten there.
To me, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar are in their own tier. And I know their contracts don't say that because they signed them whenever, but they're in their own tier. And I think what you saw this weekend is people need to get over, is he an elite quarterback? There are 4 elite quarterbacks. That's it. You have Burrow, you have Lamar, you have Allen, you have Mahomes. That is it. Everybody else falls into different categories. Do you want to say that Matthew Stafford, when he's healthy and on, can push that elite?
Sure.
I'll buy it. I'll buy that. That. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won some big games. Other than that, nobody else is elite. You fall into these other categories, whether it's just good or really good. And even the really good guys you're seeing in the playoffs, they don't step up all the time. You saw it over this weekend over and over and over again. Darnold had a great year. He was horrible. Jordan Love wasn't good. Jalen Hurts wasn't good. Justin Herbert wasn't good. CJ Stroud wasn't good. That's 5 of the 8 games right there where the quarterbacks weren't good, or teams, I should say. Now, if people are saying, well, Al, Brock's 4-2 in the playoffs and made a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo was 4-2 in the playoffs and made a Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, that's not the same. Jimmy was the definition of along for the ride. Jimmy Garoppolo averaged 160 yards passing, had 4 TDs, 6 interceptions, a 74.1 rating, and 6 rushing yards in those 6 games. Mm-hmm. He did not. Right. Not necessarily the reason they won those games.
Well, and Jimmy Garoppolo never finished top 4 in an MVP voting either.
Correct. That also. I'm just talking for the playoffs. Purdy is averaging 223 yards per game, 264 if you take out the championship game where he got hurt. He only played one series. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 96.2 rating, 98 rushing yards, which have been a huge part of their victories. Yeah. His legs and a rushing touchdown. So it's not the same. It is not the same in terms of that. And again, I'm not one of those people who is, oh God, Brock Purdy is one of the best quarterbacks ever. I don't think that. I think he's a good quarterback. A young quarterback. He's got flaws that we're hoping he can get past, these late game turnovers. But I think he has elite timing, the way when he hit on his timing throws. People want to knock on his arm for deep throws, but he has one of the best, if not the best, deep throw completion percentage in the league. Consistently one of them. So he's proven that he can do these good things. All I'm saying is that he is a good to very good quarterback who has a resume that is better, despite what you think about physical traits, better than a lot of these guys who have already got paid. And because of that, he's going to get this contract. So stop living in your little fantasy world. Stop being like, oh, they should offer him $35 million a year. That's not going to happen. If you think the system is broken, I agree with you. I think it's ridiculous that every quarterback gets paid $55 million just because it's their turn. But it's where we are. It's the game that's being played, and that's what's going to happen.
And not only that, but the other thing that I think people get hung up on, right, when they think about contracts, especially in the NFL, is they think about contracts in the NBA. They think about contracts in Major League Baseball, right, where these contracts are guaranteed, right? You know, Juan Soto signed the contract that he did. You look at it and you go, all right, well, he signed for, 13 years, $750 million, whatever it was, right? He's going to be making X amount of dollars a year, right? And so when you see people talking about, especially like 49ers fans on 49ers Twitter, that's where the majority of the engagement is, right? The talking points, whatever. So many people get hung up on this idea of you can't pay Brock Purdy $55 million a year. Can I let you guys in on a secret? There isn't a single quarterback in the NFL that makes $55 million a year. That is a fake number. It's a fake number that is put out by the agents based on these funky contracts that you sign in the NFL. A perfect example is a guy that you talked about a little bit ago, Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts signed a 5-year, $255 million contract in 2023. Okay. So an average of $51 million a year. Okay. He had a $23.2 million signing bonus. And total guaranteed at signing was $110 million. So again, $145 million of the $255 million that he signed, not guaranteed. The only guarantee was $110 million. So really you're looking at a 5-year, $110 million contract that could, he could make more based on all sorts of different things. Okay. His cap hit in 2023 was $6.1 million. His cap hit in 2024 was 13.5. His cap hit in 2025 will be 21.7. His cap hit in 2026 will be 31.7. And his cap hit in 2027, which probably will not happen because they will likely do something to change this, but it's 41.8. At no point does he even sniff $51 million a year. And at no point is he making more than 15%. In fact, 2027 would be 13.29% of the league cap, but this year, right? And the cap keeps going up. So this idea that you can't pay Brock $55 million a year because then you cannot build a team around him is just, it's misguided.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's misguided. And at some points, maybe ignorant or, woefully you're not arguing in good faith. Right.
Yeah.
You talk about the Eagles have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and Saquon Barkley. And they're still paying Jalen Hurts a contract of 5 years and $255 million. So this idea that you can't pay Brock because then you can't build a team around him and he won't be as good because you can't. It's nonsense. It's just nonsense. You got to let it go. You got to let that idea go. Okay. The 49ers are going to pay him a market rate, and they're going to structure it in a way that will not hurt the 49ers. Okay. Give them the opportunity to just negotiate this and let go of this idea that, well, Brock is not worth $55 million. None of these quarterbacks are, and none of them are making it. The only quarterback that is making what it looked like he would make in his contract is Deshaun Watson, because he's the only one that's ever signed a fully guaranteed contract. And Deshaun Watson is also the reason that you'll never see that happen in the NFL again. You never will. So stop, let go of the numbers. Okay. The numbers aren't going to matter. The 49ers will sign him to a deal that is going to look like $55, $56, $57 million a year. And he will never sniff that amount of money each season. And it will never cost them that much against the cap.
Yeah. Everybody's got to kind of get over it. It's going to happen. And like you said, it'll be structured in a way where it's not going to be crippling and life goes on.
They're going to be fine.
If they don't draft well and make good decisions around him, it's not going to matter anyway. But
exactly,
what are you going to do? It's just the way that it is. So I don't know. At some point, maybe common sense will prevail. But the other thing I realized as I watch these games, no, it never will. Especially on Twitter, it never will. Common sense goes to die there.
If you have health insurance, you might be able to see a personal dietitian for $0 out of pocket. Nourish connects you with a dietitian that fits your needs, covered by your insurance. Nourish accepts hundreds of insurance plans, and 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. Meet with your dietitian online and message them anytime through the Nourish app. With hundreds of 5-star reviews from real patients, you know you're in good hands. Find your dietitian at usenourish.com. That's usenourish.com.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/listen. Just go to Indeed.com/listen right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/listen. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
This cold and flu season, Instacart is here to help deliver all your sick day essentials. Whether you're in prevention mode and need vitamins, hand sanitizer, and that lemon tea your Nana swears by, or you're in healing mode and need medicine, soup, and a lot more tissues. Simply download the Instacart app to get sick day supplies that reinvigorate or relieve delivered in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy 0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Excludes restaurant orders. Service fees and terms apply.
As I was watching these games, thinking about head coaches too. Kevin O'Connell made me think of this, and then I started thinking about more and more. Kevin O'Connell has definitely one of the best coaches, young coaches. Yeah. He won 13 games through his first year 3 years ago. Last year, they go 7-10. They started out slow, but he lost Cousins, and Cousins was playing maybe the best football of his career before he hurt his Achilles. And then this year, with the team that people were like, are they going to win 6 games? He won 14 games. He is a terrific up-and-coming coach. Again, he's had 3 big games. He lost to the Giants a few years ago in the playoffs, who they were a heavy favorite over. The Giants with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
He lost to the Lions last game of the year this season, playing for the bye. And then he just got trounced against a Rams team that a lot of people thought they were more talented than. He is 0 for 3 in big spots and is not one to play. They are more talented than.
Yeah.
Trying to be nice. Mike Tomlin, he won a Super Bowl 17 years ago. He has won 5 playoff games since. He has won 5 playoff games since and hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. He's only won playoff games in 4 of 18 seasons as a head coach. 2008, 2010, 2015, 2016. Matt LaFleur won a lot of games as a head coach. 13 with Aaron Rodgers, maybe 3 years in a row or whatever it was. A good season this year. He is 3-5 in the playoffs. Sean McDermott for my mistress Bills. He is 0-5 against the Bengals and the Chiefs. The Bills we'll see what happens the rest of this year, but the Bills have definitely, there's a ceiling with him, it seems like, that he can't get over. Mike McCarthy, who had 3 straight 12-win seasons, just got let go, or they mutually agreed to part ways. They broke up, whatever you want to say it, by the Cowboys. Where am I going with this? Coaches, no matter how good you do in the regular season, right? It's really hard to win in the playoffs. Thought to myself, I'm as frustrated with Kyle Shanahan this year as anybody. Kyle Shanahan has won 8 playoff games. And I know he's lost a couple Super Bowls, but he's gotten to those Super Bowls. And that is a big, that's always going to be a big mark on him. And he's not.
Can't lose a Super Bowl unless you get there.
True. Very true. But seriously, I mean, do you think the Vikings would have liked to at least had a chance to get in the Super Bowl or some of these other teams that we're talking about? He's won 8 playoff games. That is a lot of playoff games. He's gotten NFC championships. He's won NFC championships. You cannot just sweep that under the rug. Now, having said that, is Kyle in the same breath as Sean McVay or Andy Reid? No, because he has not won the championship. Where Kyle is to me right now, he's Marv Levy. He's Marv Levy to Bill Parcells and
Marty
Bill
Schottenheimer.
Walsh and all those other guys, Joe Gibbs in that era. Till he wins a Super Bowl, he's gonna. There's nothing wrong with Marv Levy. Marv Levy is a Hall of Fame head coach,
right? And Marty Schottenheimer, same thing.
Yeah, Marty Schottenheimer. No, guys like that. Dan Reeves won a lot of games. That's where Kyle is right now. But there's a lot of heat on Kyle. Again, you can get one of these hotshot head coaches, Kevin O'Connell. If I told you you're going to fire Kyle and your head coach is going to win 13 and 14 games 2 of the next 3 years, you'd be like, sign me up. But what if you had first round playoff exits in those 2 years, right? Then you're like, well, wait a minute. I'd rather have Kyle's up and down, crazy, tear my hair out 10-7 season, because then I get in the playoffs, I'm going to win a couple games. So that's what I think that people, it's sort of a reality check. I know you get frustrated with Kyle, but you have to appreciate what he's done. Look around the league. Look, instead of your team, look at other places. There aren't many coaches who's done what he can do.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, you brought up Sean McVay and then you brought up Kyle Shanahan. But then you look at guys, and then you brought up guys like KOC and Matt LaFleur. And these are guys that come from the McVay Shanahan tree. What's his face in Cincinnati?
Zach Taylor.
Another guy from that McVay Shanahan tree, right? You can call it a McVay tree because KOC and Taylor were on McVay's staff, but again, Kyle Shanahan, or Mike Shanahan is the head, really, but Kyle Shanahan, right? And then it kind of goes out from there. But again, you look at them and you go, well, the 2 guys, right, that spawned those trees have found quite a bit of success in the postseason, but their acolytes, right, haven't. And for as frustrating as it is as a 49ers fan to get so close so many times with Kyle Shanahan and not win, I would still much rather be rooting for a team that has the opportunity than a team that never got the opportunity, right? A team that consistently makes the playoffs and loses in the first round, or consistently makes the playoffs but never makes it to the Super Bowl. Like I said, I wasn't being facetious when I said you've got to make it to a Super Bowl before you can lose a Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. Only 2 teams make it each year. It's not an easy thing to do. And the big takeaway for me from this from Wild Card Weekend actually came from last night's game with the Rams and the Vikings. And here's my big takeaway. The 49ers are not far away from rebuilding their defense in one offseason. And the only reason I say that is because I look at what the Rams did this past offseason. I mean, technically you can call it 2 off seasons, but I don't know if you know this, Al, but the Rams came into this season spending a league low $44 million on their defense. The next closest was the Kansas City Chiefs at $75 million. A full $31 million less than the next lowest team. And they absolutely obliterated the Minnesota Vikings with a defensive line that was rebuilt over the course of 2 drafts. That's it. 2 drafts. They got Jared Verse and Braden Fisk this past draft. Mm-hmm. And then last year they got Kobe Turner and there's one other guy and I don't remember his name. The 49ers don't even have an entire defensive line to rebuild. They've just got a portion of it to rebuild. There is a world in which next year that defensive line could be dominant, just like the Rams defensive line was in 2024. And not only that, but if you've got a guy that can scheme it up, and it sure seems like the Rams do with Chris Shula, that's another, and the 49ers are in position to get one of those guys, right? I started the Lou Anarumo, and I still think if they hired Lou Anarumo, I would be fine with that. I want Dennis Allen, and I want Dennis Allen because the defenses in New Orleans when Dennis Allen was there, he was Sean Payton's defensive coordinator before Sean Payton stepped away, right? And then he became the head coach. But quietly, the seasons that he put together in New Orleans were wildly impressive on that defensive side of the ball. And they didn't necessarily always have big name talent on that side of the ball. They had one draft that really gave them a big foundation, and that was the draft that they got like Marshawn Lattimore and guys like that. But outside of that, they haven't, they weren't necessarily the world's most talented defense, but what they were was a well-schemed defense that gave teams fits, including Kyle Shanahan. Remember, the last time Kyle Shanahan played Dennis Allen, a Dennis Allen-led defense, was Brock Purdy's rookie year, and they only scored 13 against those New Orleans Saints. So he took over the defense in New Orleans in 2015, and when you look at that, you say in points in 2015, the year that he took over, they had no talent on that side of the ball. They were 32nd ranked defense. The next year they were 31. And then you go 10, 14, 13, 5, 4, 9, 8. And then this year was 19. But again, he was fired midway through the season. That is a string of wildly successful defenses. And I'm talking, and again, that's just points. That's just points allowed, which to me is always going to be the best measure of how your defense is performing, right? Because what's the point of defense? To keep the other team from scoring. In that same vein, if we look at rush defense, starting in 2015, 31, 14, 16, 2, 4, 4, 4, 24, 22, 31. Okay. Again, but starting in 2022, when they went 24, 22, and 31, he was the head coach, and Joe Woods, who we know, not a great defensive coordinator, took over, right? Mm-hmm. Still good in points, 9, 8, and then 19, but the rush defense took a hit. The passing defense has always been consistently good as well. So if you've got a guy that can scheme it up, a Dennis Allen, a Robert Saleh, if that's what it is, obviously I wouldn't be mad at Saleh. I just know that in a year or two, we're back to finding another defensive coordinator because he's going to get a head coaching job.
I was so surprised he had head coaching interest, but I was wrong. I was wrong. He's got 2 interviews.
And granted, both of them shit franchises, the Raiders and the Jaguars. So I get it. But like I said, he comes in, he's successful. He's going to get another head coaching opportunity. Dennis Allen has had 2 already. Head coach of the Raiders and then head coach of the Saints. Defensive coordinators that become head coaches don't typically get more than 2 opportunities. Once you hit that 2 opportunities and you're not successful, they don't tend to get another one. So to me, Dennis Allen is Kyle Shanahan, Steve Spagnuolo, right? A guy that comes in, takes over that side of the ball where Kyle doesn't have to worry about it anymore. And then you just go until the wheels fall off. So that's, to me, like I said, my biggest takeaway was from the Rams, where it's like, not only did they restock a defense that is now missing Aaron Donald, but has a dominant defensive line again, but they did it in 2 drafts, and they also did it with a guy that can scheme it up on that side. Because again, that Vikings offense was prolific. Granted, the Lions, they maybe put a blueprint out there. I don't know. I haven't looked to see kind of where the Rams do a lot of man coverage and whatnot, because I know that was what the Lions were doing, which was stymieing Sam Darnold, requiring Darnold to make some throws that he was making in the regular season but wasn't in that game, and it kind of came back again. But just wildly impressive. And Sean McVay, I think Sean McVay is a phenomenal coach. Like he just is. And I also think that Kyle Shanahan is. And I think that Kyle is a victim of his own success, in that when you have these down seasons like this, teams are like, fans are like, what the hell? Like, we were kick ass for, 3 straight years. And now all of a sudden it happens right now. I've said it multiple episodes now. If next year the 49ers have a similar season to this year, then there are questions, right? But until then, he's earned the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I think that the 49ers should get rid of Kyle Shanahan, that they're never going to win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. To me, those are just hot takes designed to increase engagement. I don't think those are arguments that are really made in good faith.
Yeah, Dennis Allen's an interesting choice. He's 26-53 as a head coach. Like you said, he's probably never getting another head coaching job. I was just looking at the game you mentioned a couple of years ago. Yeah, the Niners won that game 13-0.
Yep.
Only touchdown was a pass from Garoppolo to Juwan Jennings. They held McCaffrey to 32 yards rushing. So that Saints defense did a really good job in that game. There's a lot of good candidates out there right now for DC. But again, I think, like you said, I think it's Saleh and Ulbrich are probably the top guys. And if those guys don't happen, we'll see where it goes. But
my biggest concern there is that they wait out Robert Saleh while Robert Saleh is waiting out these head coaching decisions, and then guys like Dennis Allen and Lou Anarumo and Matt Eberflus and some of these other guys, right? The bigger name guys might find a landing spot before they do. But we'll see.
I heard Saleh is like, again, I thought he was just getting interviewed. I didn't think it was going to be serious. I guess he's got a real chance in Jacksonville from what I read. Like,
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, he didn't start, but he was a coach there for a while, right? Kyle Shanahan brought him from Jacksonville. He was the linebackers coach in Jacksonville. So that makes sense. And not only that, and I'm not trying to make this anything other than just drawing some connections as well. Shad Khan is the owner of the Jaguars. For Shad Khan to be able to bring in a head coach of Middle Eastern descent, like, I think that's probably a very nice opportunity for Khan to be like, yeah, this is a cool, I just don't know if Robert Saleh is like, I don't want to work with Trent Baalke at all. And he shouldn't want to work with Trent Baalke. But there's also been talk that Khan isn't necessarily sold on Baalke being there. If Saleh's the guy that he wants, and Saleh's like, I'm not working with that asshole, I think he would fire Trent Baalke if that's the decision. So, but that's going to take time, and that's where I'm concerned. And here's the thing: if Saleh gets a head coaching job, who do you think his defensive coordinator is probably going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be
Jeff Ulbrich.
They're going to lose.
There's your other guy.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm a little bit concerned.
Oh, we'll see. Hopefully we get some answers on that stuff soon and we can talk about it. Because if they hire a new DC, we'll definitely do a show. But if not, I don't know. We'll see. We're back when we're back soon, very soon.
Yes,
but
we will be back at the very least. We'll be back next week with another episode. But hopefully we get some news before then,
some DC news,
so that we're not so that we get to talk a little bit more about the 49ers and not so much about all the teams that made the playoffs and we didn't.
Today's podcast is sponsored by MIDI Health. At any given time, 61% of adult women say they want to lose weight. But for many, that's easier said than done. If you've had trouble losing weight, don't lose hope. MIDI Health uses a deep understanding of women's hormones and a combination of weight loss medications to create a customized plan for each user. MIDI Health can help you achieve more effective and sustainable weight loss by addressing hormone imbalances. MIDI can also prescribe proven weight loss medications that help you experience reduced appetite and increased feelings of fullness. When paired with hormone optimization, you're not just managing your weight, you're also supporting your body's natural processes, which means you can overcome those weight loss plateaus that in the past have been so difficult to move beyond. So if you're ready to combine the power of hormones with the power of weight loss medications, visit joinmidi.com today. Discover how this innovative approach can lead you to lasting success. That's joinmidi.com.
So it's a new year, 2025, and you're thinking, how am I going to make this year different? How am I going to build something for myself? But where do I start? Shopify is how you're going to make it happen, and here's how. Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. The best time to start your new business is right now. Get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates, no coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. What happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if someone beats you to the idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. With Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
What's your final four before we get out of here?
I think it's Ravens, Chiefs, and I think it is Eagles, Lions.
Same. I think it's chalk across those three games, and then the Bills and the Ravens. Much as it pains me to say it, I think the Ravens are a tough matchup for the Bills. I kind of think it's the Ravens' year. I know
it
Kansas
feels
City,
that way. It certainly feels that way.
Kansas City, I'll believe they're going to lose when I actually see it. It's getting to that point with me with the Chiefs. I'm getting sick of it, but I just kind of feel like it's the Ravens' year. Lamar and Henry unless Lamar shits the bed in the playoffs, which he's done in the past. If Lamar is 80% of Lamar, I think they're going to make the Super Bowl. And in the NFC, if Detroit is healthy, I like Detroit. But it's going to be a fun game watching Jaden Daniels against them. And the Eagles got a ton of talent. But I'm going to say Ravens, Lions, I think is what I like for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so. For the Super. Yeah, I'm not gonna pick the Chiefs just out of, I don't know.
Spite.
I'm not picking spite. Sure. Yeah,
not doing
out of spite. Yes. So I am going to pick the Ravens out of the AFC. Vic Fangio has that Eagles defense playing really, really, really well, and I know that this Lions offense is really good. Jahmyr Gibbs is phenomenal. Jared Goff is playing really well. I think Vic Fangio can put Jared Goff in a blender a little bit. That one's hard for me. I'll still pick the Lions because they have a better offense, and Jalen Hurts still hasn't shown a ton. And I think if you can sell out to stop Saquon, you might be able to squeak one out, because I think Jalen Hurts will eventually make at least one mistake. But they're playing really well, and it pains me. It pains me to say that about the Eagles, because I hate their fan base. Their fan base is largely hot garbage, and I don't want them to experience any level of success. But here we are. So I will say Ravens, Lions, but our esteemed producer put in the chat, I don't know if you saw this on social media, one of the big stories coming out of that Eagles game was that really shitty Eagles fan who was yelling at the Packers woman, the female fan.
I didn't see that.
And
no.
Called her the C word multiple times. Right. The fiance standing next to her filming it. Right. Luckily for the fiance, he didn't, he was smart. He didn't, try and get physical or whatever, because they were just surrounded by Eagles fans. But that guy was quickly identified, and he has since been fired from his job and banned from Lincoln Financial Field. So kudos to that guy. Lost his job and his ability to watch his Eagles in person. So
just for being a douchebag.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. Just
don't be a douchebag
brain sometimes. Yeah. Just don't be a shitty person.
Leave people alone at games. Who cares if they're a fan of the other team? Who gives a shit? Yeah. What is wrong with people, man?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Good. Well, good for him. I'm glad he lost his job.
Yeah.
Terrible. I got to watch that. I didn't see it. Well, I don't want to
have
see
the
it,
day you deserved, sir. Have the day you deserve. And you did.
Unbelievable.
Good for you.
And but Vic Fangio very quietly may end up being the best hire of whatever, the offseason, whatever. He may end up helping that team win a Super Bowl.
Well, and I think the interesting thing is the Eagles wanted to hire Fangio last offseason, but because they went further in the playoffs, Mike McDaniel was able to poach him for that one season in Miami. And so, this Fangio was their guy the whole time. So to have him come in and really revamp this defense in one offseason, again, it just goes to show what you can do with this 49ers defense as well. And this 49er defense does have talent on it, right? We've talked about the talent that they have on that side of the ball. If they have a good draft, maybe a key free agent signing or two on that side of the ball, I don't think there's any reason why we can't see this defense get back to up to like a top 15, top 10 unit. And if that's the case, then next year is looking pretty promising.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. For Brian, I'm Al.
Later.
9-0-3. 1, 2, 3.
.2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
Grüns is a supplement that stands out because it's not a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a probiotic. It's actually all of them, and at a fraction of the price. Grüns is more comprehensive and accurately dosed than your current nutrition solutions. Grüns helps your overall health and contains 6 times the gut health ingredients. Grüns contains mushrooms, which helps with brain function, and it contains vitamin C. Grüns has 8 gummies in each daily snack pack because you can't fit all of the nutrients into one gummy. For more information, go to grüns.co.